everybody. Wanted to welcome you to our real estate rundown. Today we've got Dave Richards with Larry's Heating and Air. I'm Robert Green. Got a few questions to bring to you guys to help educate home buyers and what they're looking for in homes and what they should be doing after they buy the home. So one of the questions that we've come up with is, I know that we're in the middle of the winter, but gearing up for spring and summer, what are some things that homeowners should be doing to prepare their HVAC systems?
Well, it's not the type of season to be asking that question, but I will definitely give you a little advice. We want to clean the drain, make sure your drains are clean. If you have a system that's in your attic, you want to make sure that you have a safety switch installed in case a drain plug gets clogged up. It won't overflow and ruin your sheetrock. Always have a case of filters. You know, you want to change your filters every 30 days. There's filters on the market right now that say change every 90 days. That's just not a very good, it restricts a lot of airflow. Let me just put it to you that way. So every time you get your electricity bill, that should be a good reminder to change your filter when that's due. So, another thing is make sure your condenser is nice and cleaned out. So how that condenser works, it breathes kind of like a radiator. So once that radiator gets stopped up with dirt, and we live in the Texas Panhandle, so there's going to be a lot of dirt flying around, and sticking to that evaporator is get you a hose and rinse that off. And that should get you kind of started.
Awesome. So one of the things that is always curious for me, because I'm not an HVAC tech, is what is the culprit of most service calls that you see, just generally speaking, out of all seasons?
Filters.
Filters, huh?
Yeah, filters is a big one. In the heating season, if you have a gas furnace, the filter is restricting airflow into your furnace box. And there's what's called a high limit switch. It's a safety switch. So if that box, it's called the heat exchanger. If that heat exchanger gets too hot, then it shuts down your system. Once that cools down, it resets that limit switch and then fires up again. And if there's not the proper airflow that's going through that heat exchanger, it's going to trip that limit again. And it's just a constant cycle of once it cools down, it'll fire back off, and then it'll overheat. And same thing with air conditioning. If there's not a proper amount of airflow going past your evaporator coil, then that coil gets frozen, and it's kind of like, I call it like building a snowman effect. It's just going to get bigger and bigger, full of ice, and it just freezes up. So filters are a main cause for service calls in summer and in winter. And what's funny is we'll go and we'll ask if the person's, when's the last time they changed their filter, and sometimes there'll be a brand new filter in and they just changed it right before they got there, so they've not let the process kind of settle and then fire it back up again. Or some people are like, well, I didn't even know where my filters were. So it's a good thing to kind of identify if your filters are in the ceiling or if they're under your furnace, if it's in a closet. Sometimes there's a filter base, and it's got a little trap door that you slide in and slide out. And on the older systems, you have to literally take the door off of the furnace and then put the filter in and then put the door back on, which is kind of a pain in the rear.
Gotcha. What's the best piece of advice for a person looking to buy a home when they're looking at HVAC?
Well, look at the age of the equipment. Not saying that the age is a problem when it comes to the operation of the unit. You want to check to see what kind of Freon it is. First of all, R22 is the older refrigerant. It's been phased out. Some systems still have R22 Freon in it and are running like a top. However, the cost of refrigerant per pound for that is insanely expensive. Also, you want to see if someone's kept record of preventative maintenance calls. If they have a contract with a heating and air company that comes out twice a year and does it, they'll usually have a log of of what they've done. Look at the filters. That's another thing. Please, I keep saying filters. It's because that's a huge deal. And you can tell when someone hasn't changed their filters. There's a lot of dust debris that's kind of bypassed that filter into the return air box. Or look at the insulation on the outside of the home. If it's torn, I mean, you can just tell by age. But again, it's kind of a catch-22. That equipment that's very aged could be completely running perfectly. So it's kind of hard to decipher. The best piece of advice I have for someone buying a home is when they do the inspection, get your own company out there to look at the evaporator coil to make sure it's not clogged up. Test the capacitor. Look at the contactor to see if there's any pits in it. Look at the compressor to see if it's ever been replaced or if it's the original equipment. So there's just a plethora of things you can do. But if you're buying a home and they're going to do the initial inspection report, go ahead and hire your contractor to come out and do kind of a run through of everything to make sure that you're going to be safe.
Is that something that they could call on Larry?
Yes, yes. So we offer that to. We do a number of inspections for investment groups, home buyers. We just come out and we'll go through that entire system and if we can't access the evaporator, we'll put a camera through and make sure that coil is clean. Check your pressures. It's hard to check pressures really in the wintertime because it's so cold. So it's ideal for it to be about above 70 for us to really have a good load on that air conditioner to make sure it's doing what it's doing.
Gotcha. You mentioned one thing, and I wanted to touch back on it, is the drain lines. You talked about putting some things in there in case a drain got stuffed up. Can you explain some of that a little deeper?
Yeah, so a safety switch, there's two drain lines in an attic, and even in a closet, there's two drain lines. One's a main drain and one's an auxiliary drain. If the main drain ever gets clogged up, on that pan of the evaporator, there's a second hole that's a little bit higher than the first hole. If that gets clogged up, then it starts running out there. A lot of homes will have that run outside or over a porch where it's noticeable or a window. Now they make these safety switches that it's a little PVC piece, and it goes in, and it's wire. It has two wires coming out, and they break the red wire, which is the power wire. So if any water ever hits that safety switch or floats up to the point where it opens up that circuit, then it shuts your whole system down, and that'll save you a ton in sheetrock repair.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat little. Somebody that got tired of fixing ceilings invented that. So.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Well, I appreciate you coming
Yes,
by
sir.
today and educating myself and all of our watchers and giving us a little piece of advice on what we can do differently as we go through inspection periods and things like that at the homes. So
I appreciate you having me.
absolutely.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.